With only 20 days to the general election, security in some parts of Kenya is becoming a complicated challenge for security agencies. In Lamu, villages near the notorious Boni forest have been evacuated as the military prepares an incursion to flush out the hundreds of Al-Shabaab members believed to be living in the forest. But the week began on a low note as Public Works PES Mariam El-Mawi escaped death narrowly in the hands of the terrorists who abducted her before killing 4 people in her entourage. Now, the president has sent a resounding warning to the Al-Shabaab.
Mimi nawauliza wenzetu tushirikiane kwa usalama wa Kenya hii yetu. Tunaelewana? Kwa sababu kama mtu amejitolea kuja kuharibu maisha ya watu, kukata vichwa vyao, tunaelewana? Kuua askari yetu, kwa nini nimpembeleze? Hata sisi tutawamaliza.
Tonight, it's round 2 of the security roundtable as police spokesperson Charles Owino faces off with security analyst Simiyu Werunga, George Musamali, and governance analyst Javas Bigambo. That's up next on the roundtable with me, your host, Asham Willing. Good evening and welcome to round 2 of the security roundtable. On the show tonight, of course, remember them from last week, police spokesperson Charles Owino and security analyst Simi Werunga and George Musamali. It appears Javas is now, he's trying to be like the running mate, He's an SO, but his podium is there, so we'll be seeing the space. I think it was very heated from last week. So we had a very heated debate last week about Lamu, and you can see what happened with the PS being abducted, injured, and members of her entourage being brutally murdered. Can we perhaps start from there? Charles, we can start with you. Can you give us an update about Lamu, what's happening with the Boni situation?
Yeah, you are aware that now for about 2 years, we have had serious deployments in Boni because this was a route that terrorists were using to get into Kenya and to terrorize people in Malindi, Mombasa, and to a larger extent, even the rest of the country. And also it is a route that those who had been radicalized were using from Mombasa, some from Tanzania coming through Mombasa, Malindi, through Boni Forest to Somalia. So before that also there were attacks in some of these areas, and people had left their homes and moved to other centers. But after deployments of the deployment of security agencies, because it was a multi-agency operations, we saw a situation where people went back to their respective homes, save for about the last 2 weeks or so, when they attacked a village, Pandanguo. But even before that, we had incidences of AIDs on the roads, and we got a number of casualties in terms of police officers. So that is the major problem that we have in Lamu, but it has been decided that the majority of the population, the villagers who are living deep inside the forest, to be moved out so that we can have another special operation within this particular area to try to keep off the attackers from Lamu area. There is no alternative, but we just have to do that for now.
Perhaps how many people have been affected? Do you know? Because you know the PS was actually there to witness the evacuation and to probably work on that.
I can't give you the exact number of the people, but you are aware that in 3 weeks' time we are going to have elections. So we have to move with a lot of speed so that we don't interfere with the particular stations where people are supposed to vote. Each and every person will have to exercise his right to vote, and we don't want interference. So that means that within the next 1 week, we must make sure that we have mopped up the area, made it safe, and provide extra security to ensure that these people vote.
Maybe you can get a comment from the analysts. I mean, looking at this tactic, what the Al-Shabaab did, abducting, and possibly they could have gone with the PS, and now brutally murdering the people in her entourage. What do you think this says about the threat that is there from Boni?
I think one, while it's good what the government is trying to do to remove people, but I think we probably never understood how Al-Shabaab was changing its tactics and its objective in this operation. And I've been mentioning this issue of insurgency. When the government removes people from Boni Forest, that could have been the aim of Al-Shabaab so that they can own the Boni Forest. And I gave an example of the Sambiza Forest in Maiduguri, northeastern Nigeria. When you move from terrorism to insurgency, the main difference is that insurgency, you want to create space and hold ground so that you can have somewhere where you can plan, you can launch forays and come back to your base. And you see they are actually very often these days attacking police stations, attacking police posts. In this sense, they are trying to create a zone where they have the capacity to organize themselves, they have the capacity to plan, knowing that if they come, they are coming to where we are, not as opposed to launching terror attacks in specific areas with no base to come back. I'm looking at this scenario where crossing from Somalia into Boni Forest to attack and go back has probably been a challenge to them. And slowly, even when they attacked in Peketoni, when they attacked some parts of Lamu, I think at that point our strategists in the military and the police should have started realizing a change in tactics, so that we started planning from that time to know that these people are actually trying to gain ground. And what you notice now, as they gain ground in Boni Forest, they're also trying to create space along our border by using IEDs to terrorize Kenyans, to terrorize our security forces, and in the process gaining ground. So to me, yes, it's a good idea to move Kenyans away so that they are not part of the collateral damage. But at the same time, when you look at it from a strategic and tactical perspective, it is like now Al-Shabaab are actually achieving some of their aims of creating a space where they can manage, plan, control, and be prepared to fight back. So I think as a country, yes, it's important we do what we are doing. But I think we also need to look at this thing as a change of face in how Al-Shabaab are now trying to operate within our borders, as opposed from operating from Kismayu and terrorizing Lamu.
Judge, from your analysis, do you agree with that?
I agree with Dr. Werunga, okay, because I think this thing is getting out of hand. If you look at the kind of attack that they tried yesterday in a GSU camp at Mukoe, it really shows that we are looking at the changing face of terror. And this is moving away from the traditional ways that Al-Shabaab have been operating. Now it's becoming an insurgency. Lamu is already under curfew from last week. And if you look at where Mukoe is, this is a populated area. We have people living around the GSU Mukoe camp. And this starts all the way from Hindi. And from Mukoe to Boni Forest is it's almost like 40 kilometers. So how do these people move? How did they move from Boni Forest, if they are based in Boni Forest, get through the villages and come and try and attack a GSU camp? And remember, this was a deliberate attack. It's something that was planned. And when you're planning a deliberate attack, it means you have to do reconnaissances, go gather information about the number of officers that are in that camp, how is it protected, and then you go and do a plan, then come out and carry this attack. So somebody somewhere must have seen these people moving. So are we looking at a gap in what the kind of security that is being provided in Lamu, or what is wrong? And also, when we are looking at Lamu, let us not start looking at it from now, when we are seeing so much attacks being carried out by the Al-Shabaab. Lamu has had an insecurity problem for a very, very long time. And in those ages, years back, before we set up all these military camps, before we set up the GSU camp in Mukoe, the problem has always been banditry. Because these people had lived in that forest, crossing over from Raskamboni, getting into Lamu, attacking buses along the Malindi-Mukoe Road, stealing from the locals, and then getting back to Somali through Boni Forest. And the actions then were put in place to make sure that this does not happen again. So if we now start moving people, yet the magnitude of the problem is equally the same, I don't think we are doing the right thing, because these people depend on the forest for their livelihood, and then it's like we're displacing populations, whereas we as a government are supposed to come up with proper strategies to ensure that our people are secure wherever they are. That is their home. You cannot move me from my home, yet I am a taxpayer and I have people, we have security agencies deep inside the forest. Are we accepting that Al-Shabaab are having an upper hand in this war?
First of all, he looks terrorized. He has achieved much with the kind of face he's trying to give. He's terrorized and at the same time unstable. Because one, he's saying that Al-Shabaab has gained ground. At the same time,
I've not said they have gained ground. I've said it seems like they are having an upper hand. We have a curfew. We have a curfew in place, and still you'll find that they're carrying out these attacks.
Upper hand would mean that you have gained ground. In short, that is what you're trying to say. At the same time, he's saying people should not be moved. That we should leave the people there, and at the same time carry out our operations. I think I don't know whether you know Lamu from readings from the book or you have been
Mr.
there.
Wino, I've operated there.
So
I was in Mokoe camp from 1992 to 1994, so I know the ground very well.
You know, you can be in a camp, but you have not moved around the area.
I can name all the areas I've operated in.
It's not like the area you are talking about is not like Bungoma or like Kakamega, where there is high concentration of population. This, you only get high populations in the market centers, but you get scattered families because many of them belonged to the they use the forest quite a lot for their livelihood, for their animals and the rest. Remember that our objective as we started running on managing Lamu, we had objectives of doing roads, which we have so far done, quite a number of them. Remember, we have KWS in that particular place, and they are in several camps, which we have already done. But you can see that there's some kind of unique boldness that we are witnessing from these people. And when you find unique boldness of that nature, then you have to re-strategize on what you are going to do. Remember, when we went for the first time, many people had moved from their homes. And the few that remained, we moved them. We took a very short time, 2-3 weeks, we were able to resettle people back. So you cannot say that if a strategy is maybe to comb the area completely, then it would mean that we don't need to do that. If need be, that will have to be done. Because for your information, out of fear, because terror basically is to threaten people and cause fear. Out of fear, the locals have run from that place. And I've told you, we are facing a situation where we are just running to elections in 3 weeks' time. We want these people to elect their leaders in this particular place. So what happens is that the mode in which terrorists work sometimes is quite unique, because when you see people putting EIDs, then people are even applying the guerrilla tactic of hit and run, and that is very unique. You don't need it's a procedure that you also need to be very tactful to manage. But the most important thing that we need to understand is that there is possibility of collaboration between some of these people and the locals. You remember after the Mpeketoni attack, and then there was another second attempt of an attack where a number of insurgents were killed. Many terrorists were killed. If you look at the identity of these terrorists, I think you saw one person from UK, you saw locals, including businessmen from Mombasa, and that tells you that the trend of operation within this area, there's a lot of recruitment and collaboration amongst these people. And this must also be dealt with in a different way. But what we must say is that in such like situations, we need more of unity. We don't need people we need people who can sacrifice, not people who cry like you. Because when you cry to that extent, what will happen? We need more ideas, and we need to work as a team. And this is not a job you say, I leave it to security agencies only. No. This is something that affects all of us, and it is something that requires input of each and every person, starting from the common local mwananchi up to the highest level of the society.
I understand that, Mr. Owino.
Yes.
I think there's one question that both Mr. Simiyu and Musamali have asked here about the insurgency. The whole aspect that it feels like, we understand that you have to move people out of those areas where they're under threat, but it feels like now Al-Shabaab is sort of like controlling a certain area. It's now their zone, it's their turf, and moving people out.
You cannot say that. No, you cannot say that unless you don't understand what is taking place in that particular place. There is no specific place where they are sitting, and you can say they are in this place, because if that would happen, then we have capacity to hit them wherever they are. But you are seeing a situation where there's possibility of radicalization and recruitment of people. Locals. You see, as a policeman, when I walk on the road, I'm in uniform, I'm in a police vehicle, it's easy to tell this is a policeman. When you meet him and he has become a terrorist, it's not very easy to tell. And you see, we are not allowed to attack anybody that you meet. You cannot, and that is why last time we were talking about curfew, when he was saying, why are we having curfew? And I was saying, no, we need to have curfew at night so that we are able to control movements, because most of the attacks are done at night.
So
I think my worry is this. While they might not have an established base, but at least they have a place where they can plan, even if they are roaming inside the forest. Also, Mr. Wino, eyewitnesses are telling us they thought there were about 200, there were about 300, there were about 40 people. Even if they are parts and parcel of the locals, which we know and we believe there are some collaborators within Lamu, I think the fact that those numbers can be brought together and roam around our Lamu county and attack at will and run, some are killed, that is where the worry is coming in. How is it possible that these fellows can be operating in big numbers like those ones, and yet we know they are not crossing the border? So the idea is not that they've really put a camp in Boni Forest, but the fact that they have the capacity to be shifting places.
You are sure they are in those numbers?
No, those are eyewitnesses.
Eyewitnesses.
Those are eyewitnesses, and nobody has spoken to the contrary.
Yeah, there was the Pandango attack.
The Pandango attack.
Where, you know, we had a number of 150.
Yes,
That's the number we had, but we didn't hear anything contrary to that.
And even yesterday, those who attacked Mukoe, they came in two groups.
And they said there were about 40 or something.
They said there were about 40.
Yes.
This is a big number.
How were they able to count them at night?
No.
That is the information that we got. We are not saying that. We are not putting it. But you see, these are people on the ground and they are saying this.
Sometimes it's better to listen to us more. You know, the nature of human beings is you want to listen to bad things. You don't want to listen.
But you see, Mr. Owino, that information is not coming out.
When you are talking about, but let me ask you, are we supposed to explain everything?
You know,
but I mean,
is it really in order?
If we're hearing,
Murunga, you are a trained military
yes,
officer.
I agree.
Is it really in order that I would come here and tell you everything?
No, you can't.
Of what?
Now let me look at it. Yes, let me look
at
what.
Believe that there are hundreds of these militants living in
I'm telling you, they cannot move in hundreds, as somebody is trying to put. It's not possible. The only thing they can apply is more of a guerrilla tactic, where you can sneak with an idea and put it in a place. But that boldness of coming in hundreds is not true.
Okay.
Because you see, the capacity we have in Lamu, in terms of military, in terms of GSU, administration, and the rest, is so huge that you cannot tell me people can come in hundreds and attack and
I think what is...
It's not possible.
From my point where I come from, you see, Owino, it's about perceptions. If people say, this is the number, we don't expect you to come and tell us, no, it was not 150, it was around 20. You know, I think even if propaganda, you must also play about with the propaganda. Because the issue in security...
So you want me to come and...
No. Let me just say... Let me say something. Let me say something. Without propaganda, you know, it's about perception. Two, we must look at it from our regional geopolitics.
Yes.
If somebody keeps on telling the world that we saw 150, we had 200, we had 40. I think from our standing in the region and globally, it is just incumbent and good for you people to come and say the contrary to that. So even from a national image, I think it will be just good for you to come and say it was not 140.
I tell you there were 10.
No.
Not 10.
You see,
So there were you are saying that if people say, eyewitnesses say there were 150, then
we don't believe.
the only way we can give confidence to Kenyans is to tell them there were 5.
No, we don't believe it was 150, but they came in numbers.
The problem is, you are not telling us anything. Tomorrow, Shabaab will remove a video, and Kenyans will see this. I mean, what will they buy?
Excuse me.
It has happened before.
Excuse
so
me.
I
told you.
It's better that we get it from the official.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Official
channels.
I've told you that you look terrorized.
I'm not terrorized, Mr. I'm just being factual. I'm just being factual.
No, just a minute. Either you are terrorized, or you are an agent of terror who would want to cause terror to.
I'm just being.
I'm here, and I'm telling you, there is no major cause of worry, and I've assured you that what we have done is that we have had this operation before, and we managed to bring things in control. But usually, as it happens, is that there are several reasons why you find some of these things happen. For example, when these things started happening, we felt that there was a lot of heat in Somalia, in the sense that, there's been very good cooperation in the current government of Somalia and our forces in Somalia and other African forces that are in Somalia. So when this insurgency started attacks, we had a very strong feeling that there was too much heat in Somalia, and therefore a number of them were trying to get their way into Boni. And we had been, and maybe you are aware of this, we had been very successful in Somalia in most of the attacks that our African troops, the African Union troops, had been making in Somalia, to an extent that you remember that even the people that had been radicalized and had gone to Somalia, the Al-Shabaab were actually killing them, because they were thinking that maybe these persons that are with them, who are our people, could be passing intelligence or information to us. So in event that attacks take place in the nature that it has happened, then we had to re-strategize and find out what is the true position. Could it be that we are having a camp in this particular forest, or what is it? The best thing to do is, when you have that kind of operation, the locals, their animals may suffer, because it is a massive operation. It's not an ordinary operation. So because of the massiveness of the operation, that is why you see we are asking, some people had moved, but we are also moving other people, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we are clearing the forest baseline to ensure that there is totally nothing. And after we've done that, then we can be able to create a, just a minute, we can be able to create a...
I'm going to give you the chance to respond, and I can also see Mr. Simiyu has a follow-up question to that. But let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back on the round table. Don't go away.